Hi, Gloria Lybecker here with the Healing You Method. With the way things have been going in our world, I've heard quite a few people talking about how long they've been alone, how long they've been in a sense of isolation and not having the liberty to move and engage with others as they used to be accustomed to. But their life has really changed. And some people feel scared. They're noticing that the longer they're alone, the more sensitive they feel when they do get to venture out. And when they venture out, they're like on a high-tuned alert, being around other people, worried about social distancing, worrying about who's wearing a mask and who's not wearing a mask, really scared for their health and well-being, or for the health and well-being of those they love. So they might overthink things, which then there's this worrying cycle that happens, which creates a lot more anxiety and stress. And so they have more cortisol flooding their system, which is really going to wear them out, can create a sense of exhaustion from the inside out. And yet they have this hypervigilance for safety that's running them. Well, someone I worked with the other day was really expressing concern around wanting just to feel comfortable again and worried that they didn't even know what that felt like anymore. And thinking, well, once upon a time, they did feel comfortable, and what happened? Well, one of the things that can happen is our ever-present past can surface if it's stimulated, if we've had trauma in our life, the everyday stuff, something can come up in that then triggers this cascade of memories that we don't even know are from the past. They come down and they just shape our reality. It's like filters that we perceive through. And we think it's happening right now because in our inner experience, it is. So analogy, one way of looking at this was, it's like, have you ever gotten to play with kids in a sandbox? Well, if they're little kids, it can be a very fascinating experience because each child, when they're really little, all of their experience, it's all about them. And so you have children playing in a sandbox, and each one of them has their own perception about whose sandbox it is, whose toys they are, whether they're having fun or not, or whether they're willing to even share. Maybe one child thinks another child just threw sand in their face, but what actually happened is the child was just having fun playing in their own little world and didn't even realize the impact their fun had on another child because their perception didn't include that other being. So just being able to be with that and to start to have some compassionate understanding for our younger selves, for our own growth and development, for our ability to integrate energy and information flow. Another analogy could be, have you ever gotten on a merry-go-round? And when you were on the merry-go-round, did some bigger kids come and start pushing it, and it got going so fast that you were just hanging on for dear life because it didn't feel safe, but you didn't have a voice to speak up? That actually happened when I was a little kid. I remember hanging on and flying around the outside of that merry-go-round. I don't really recollect what happened when I landed. But what I learned out of that experience as a child was don't get on the merry-go-round if there's big kids around. So there's a need for trust, a need to matter. And yet, part of the experience when you're around others, and like this person that I was working with, and they want to feel comfortable, and yet they don't feel comfortable. To slow it down enough to actually allow the body's wisdom to begin to inform them, to be able to allow the uncomfortableness, to sit with it and not be alone in it is a key piece. So by slowing it down and just stepping through time to be with this part that felt so uncomfortable in any kind of a group setting, which means more than one person, when we can come and just be with and be present, breathing relationally, the nervous systems begin to sync up. Through the accompaniment, our experience begins to be transformed because there's a gentleness in the allowing of what is and the acknowledgement of how it feels to be us in the moment. So this little one, through the experience of just being sat with and acknowledging the body and how it felt, there was a softening and there was a relaxation and an ease and a deepening of the breath. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I feel comfortable. And it was astonishing. There was some awe and some wonder how this could be possible. Well, in my experience, when we're able to slow down to be with life and allow ourselves to be accompanied, we begin to grow new pathways, new neurons, and we make sense. And that begins to transform our life from the inside out. So some takeaways that this one had is you're like, well, why would I want to be a part of a group? Well, for one, I really don't want to be all alone and scared anymore. I really like being able to feel calm and breathe and actually feel safe. And another acknowledgement was they recognize I am healing and I'm really learning in real time experiences of how to stay engaged and in relationship with myself as well as with others. It's true. We need to be in relationship with ourselves first in order to be in relationship with others authentically. And the third takeaway was they recognize that they are developing and practicing new skill sets consistently. And when we practice consistently, we keep showing up. It becomes more familiar and we develop our confidence in who we really are. We get to reclaim our own essence. If you're interested in this pathway, learning these skill sets, these practices, reach out to me at healingyoursanctuary.com. Thanks for being on the journey with me today. Healing you.